What's up, guys? Thanks as always for supporting the show. It would mean a lot to me if you would take a second to scroll down and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any more of our videos. Also, make sure you follow us all over social media so you don't miss any of our content or show announcements. There is some encouraging stuff if you're a Knicks fan. You now have to beat the Pacers 5 times. That's going to be a pain in the ass. But you do have the tools with which to do so. I thought that, with exception of really overtime, I didn't think the Pacers had any sort of extended stretch of defensive success against the Knicks. And again, overtime, the Knicks were shook. In the first half, a lot of traditional coverages. You guys want to know why Miles Turner sat out the majority of the second half of this game and then played all of, 90 seconds in overtime before Carlisle pulled him again? The Pacers were running a lot of traditional coverages, especially to start the game, and Miles Turner was doing a god-awful job defending the screener and the ball. There was a play where Deuce McBride got an early layup in this game where he was like hugged up to Mitchell Robinson up at the top of the key. In general, the Pacers were trying to account for Cat and his catch and shoot threes by staying off of that ball handler and ball screens. And you were just seeing Brunson get downhill over and over and over again. Mikal Bridges was getting into the paint whenever he wanted to. Brunson, you could tell, feels immensely comfortable against Nembhard and Nesmith relative to Drew Holiday. I think one of my big thoughts coming out of this game was some contender needs to be reading the tea leaves here and identify that Drew Holiday is one of the most impactful defensive players in the postseason and jump on that guy, because he could come in and instantly raise the ceiling of your defense. Because Brunson and Nembhard and Nesmith are two very good on-ball defenders, and Jalen Brunson's just too big and too strong for them. The big thing I noticed was in those ball screen actions when Brunson was going over the top, that automatically put the on-ball defender into the sidecar or into the back position, right? Trailing or in that like kind of jail on the hip sort of position. And Brunson was just very easily able to kind of bump guys off in that position and get all the way to the rim. Then in the second half, when they started going into more switching, and there were still some traditional schemes, and that both teams were still like trying not to switch if they could, but if anybody got hit by the screen, they were willing to switch in that second half. And in that second half, same sort of thing. It didn't matter who it was. Brunson was able to get to his spots against his primary defender. And so there's some encouraging stuff on the Knicks front where I do feel like they're going to be able to score the ball effectively and consistently in this series. On the flip side, I thought that they had some extended stretch of successful defense against the Pacers. So, for instance, in that big run that the Knicks had while Jalen Brunson was off the floor, they had success in switching and in their traditional schemes. You guys remember that play where Deuce McBride blocked Pascal Siakam on the dunk? Traditional coverage, Siakam slips, pocket pass, Siakam takes off, and there's a rotation from Deuce McBride off the baseline, a huge blocked shot. Couple possessions later, they run like a little, wedge screen to try to get Siakam a little separation before he sets the ball screen for Haliburton. Haliburton gets down into the lane. Josh Hart nail help off of Nesmith. Nice kick out. And Josh Hart just throws a crazy closeout at Aaron Nesmith and nearly blocks the shot and gets a stop. A few possessions later, they straight up switch a ball screen. Cat ends up on Haliburton. He gets a stop. They had some extended stretches where they were able to get stops against the Pacers in both their switching scheme and in their traditional scheme using just chaotic rotations. So again, when the Knicks hang on to the rope and they're very invested mentally and physically, they can be really physically overwhelming for this Pacers team. In rotation, especially on the glass, a lot of interior matchup hunting. It wasn't just Cat going at Siakam or Cat going at Turner. There was a stretch there where OG Anunoby went at Ben Mathurin a couple times in a row and was just able to power right through him and get to where he wanted to go. And I mean, a lot of this comes back to what I said before the series about the Knicks, which is like there's a reason why most Knicks fans I talked to after the Pistons series didn't really like the team. Most Knicks fans I talked to throughout the season were like, this isn't the same kind of like character team that we saw last year when it was, Isaiah Hartenstein. It was a different team, right, at that point in time. And the reason why was there was frustration with the Knicks and their ability to consistently execute on both ends of the floor, their ability to hang on to the rope mentally and physically. And in this game, it's these brief stretches where they're just not leveraging their gifts to the ability that they're capable of, and the Pacers will quite literally never let go of the rope. And so there's just so many different things there. There are so many different things there to learn from this game if you're the Knicks, which is that like you cannot let up even for a second in this matchup. Let's get into some other notes around the series. So a couple things. The Knicks rebounding. I think you could see a real perimeter size mismatch in this particular series. So for instance, OG Anunoby, Mikal Bridges, even when you get down to Josh Hart and Deuce McBride, there is like a size athleticism advantage in terms of just like vertical ability on the perimeter for the Knicks. There's no doubt that the Pacers have speed and that speed can be a problem in different ways, mainly just the pace that they're able to play with just furiously throughout the entire game. But when it comes to some of those battles in the vertical plane, the Knicks can win a lot of those battles. And I thought that was pretty clearly evident in game one. I did think that Brunson was more capable of compromising the defense and getting into the paint over the lion's share of the game than Haliburton was, even though we can acknowledge that Haliburton was better in the overtime period. I thought a classic Haliburton sequence in that overtime was that drop-off pass to Nembhard cutting off of the slot. Just a reminder with Haliburton that he's going to score, but he will quite literally never miss a read. If the read is there, it's just like programmed into his brain to play a certain way, and he's going to hunt that read every single time he gets that opportunity. But I did think that there was a dribble penetration advantage for the Knicks. Mitchell Robinson, we did not see any sort of, I mean, obviously they would grab him anytime he got, right underneath the basket or anything like that. But we did not see a hack of Robinson at any point in the game. Mitchell Robinson in 21 minutes was even and was pretty successful as just a physical monster. Offensive rebounding, defending, that vertical spacing like we saw in that lob off of the Jalen Brunson two-man game. A lot of stuff for Rick Carlisle to look at, by the way, just in general with their ball screen coverages and the job that Thomas Bryant and Miles Turner did. Those guys were getting absolutely fried everywhere on the floor tonight, and there are some real problems there that they're going to have to look at. Thomas Bryant was -11, Miles Turner was -3, and you end up winning this game. In the small ball groups, though, I did think the Knicks had some success with that overall size, especially with Cat, who was really giving the business to Pascal Siakam in those sequences.